Really get it. Okay. I guess that means we started. Good morning.
Good
This is
morning,
this is Deborah Leanne,
Suzanne Joy.
and we are here to talk to you about. I gotta make this serious, but not serious, because we're supposed to do this with cheerfulness. I'm trying to, well, not supposed to anything. We are going to go talk about the shadow of corruption and then into the beautiful state of harmony through the pathway of equanimity, one of my favorite.
Equilibrium,
Oh, sorry.
but equanimity is all about that.
That's, thank you for the correction. So the
I'm,
correction
I'm
to my
just
corruption.
cleaning it up.
I just need, you know how those horses that have the little things in the back to collect their poop so they don't make a mess when they go in the parades? I need one of those. Just walk behind me, clean up after me. Um, no. So that is part of what I think is in our collective understanding of corruption, that it's the messy stuff that, first of all, that we see everywhere else before we look at it within our own lives. But second of all, it is so embarrassing for us to even imagine any of the messes that we've created and that we are carrying forth, maybe even passing on to our children, that we don't want to look at it. And that's where we just kind of go, too big, too messy, don't want to look at it. So tell me about how corruption feels in your body, Susanne.
Mm,
Nice face.
well, it's it feels a little chaotic. Um, and I think it is partnered with the third gene key, which is on chaos. And when I acknowledge it and see it, corruption and chaos go together. They want you to give up. It's
Yeah,
like it it
passivity. Mm-hmm.
it wants you to have that just resignation, like I can't do anything with my life, screw this. And so um, we each get to play that role in seeing how that shows up in our own life and moving beyond it.
Yeah.
It's
And
pulling it out by the root and seeing it for what it is. And this is a slow and steady process. I'm a person that's like, is
are
this,
we done yet?
are
Are we
we
done?
but I'm
Well,
recognizing, okay, and everybody's on their own part of the journey. I get it. Um, yeah,
but we
but
can't get to that beautiful place of harmony that I grew up with putting, peace on all of my, correspondence when I was writing to people, or, it was, let there be peace on earth was the song we sang in church. And, it was all about peace, peace, peace. And yeah, nobody was looking at how am I bringing even more war, corruption, lack of peace into the world.
right.
And and the other thing that really struck me that goes into the my religious upbringing was we were taught that we were born with original sin, which I at some point poo-pooed and was like, we're perfect. We're in God's likeness. What do you mean? There. And now I'm going, oh, it's the ancestral DNA that we've inherited. It's the karmic patterns that we've inherited. It's the stuff that's in our system. It's in our culture that we have brought forth and we keep passing on to our next generations. That's the junk DNA, or the I love how he described it, like the computer term, the corruption in our data.
Hmm. It's sin is just missing the mark. And so it's just a matter of realigning with our divinity. And I'm saying that like as if it happens overnight, but to really understand it and embody it is a totally other thing. Um,
Yeah. And that's where I want to, and this is something that I'm starting to see people understand, but it's part of the process, is we need to stop fighting the ugly, the mess, the chaos, it's a different form of adding to the chaos versus, and then there's the passive side that goes, oh, it's too big, can't do anything, sorry, I'll go back to
Right.
sleep, you know.
Right. So the
So in the
overloaded.
middle, yeah.
Yeah.
And so I
Mm-hmm.
love how the two different, like Western way of being and the Eastern way of being, you know, the love of Christ and the wisdom of Buddha come together into this contemplative path that we are now learning to walk. And
Mm-hmm.
that is, yeah, it's a mess. And what if that's beautiful too? Like, how do we find what is out of sync? And that gets into the equanimity and the equilibrium. How do we find what's out of sync right now in what I'm eating, in how I'm sleeping, in how I socialize, who I socialize with? I mean, where is it that I can find those pieces that are out of alignment with who I want to be, my own contribution to corruption?
Right. We don't need to focus on the external so
Oh, we
much.
have so
It's
much
we
right
got
here.
stuff on our own plate.
Yeah,
And what I love about the gift, when we actually restore that for each one of us, we have deep inner peace. So that's where the peace comes from. It comes from our own equilibrium.
yeah. And I used to describe, and I know I keep bringing up equanimity because I do love that word.
It is a great word.
But I used to describe that because people go, "What is that?" And I'd say it is like being in the eye of the storm. It's freaking tornado all around us, but we are standing in our wholeness and our holiness, if we're going to stay in the religious theme here, in the oh yeah, it's chaos out there.
And I
Wow.
don't have to get swept in it.
And I don't have to like let that knock me out of this center, you know?
Right.
So yeah. And then he says, and we have to find, thank you, Richard Rudd, for your wise words in the 64 ways audios. I just find those so helpful. He talks about finding something that brings us some cheerfulness because this is heavy work.
Yeah.
And if we let it, it will drag us down into the passive place, like giving up
Yeah.
again.
Yeah. The meh.
Meh, which is where I think
It's
our generation started that, like, too big, too much. You guys sent, that we want to blame it on the generation before us. You guys gave this mess to us. What are we
right,
supposed
right,
to do with it?
right. Yeah, this is all about balance and really concentrating our own energy.
Mm.
Yeah.
So when I want to tap in a little bit with, I know what corruption feels like to me because it's literally, I'm actually able to now sense anxiety thrumming through my system. And I used to be upset about that. Like, aren't you strong enough to manage that? And you should just like not have that. And you should be peaceful and blah, blah, should. And now I'm going, hello. Yeah, that's the thrum of the energy that's all around me and within. And I'm going to walk with you. And I love this because this key is in the musical realm,
Mhm.
harmony. And how do we find in that chaotic discord that we are feeling, how do we find something that balances that? That's where that equilibrium comes from. But I mean, like, this is where,
That's the tool that I use, music as my tool.
and that is so fascinating because I think of all the people I know that is their go-to to calm their system down.
Hmm.
And I think for me, it's my hands in the dirt.
Hmm.
I need
That's
to like
yeah.
literally be in the midst of nature, like go stand under the trees and feel the wind on there's something about listening to bird song that
Hmm.
brings me right back into
Again, it's
it is
auditory. Yeah.
yeah, it is auditory.
It's sound. Yeah.
So yeah, so whatever it is that brings you to your space of equilibrium, it's like noticing that and then going, I need some more vitamins. I need to go tap into that again. Or there are certain foods that we know our body is like, yes, please, that will calm my system. I want more of that. So,
Yeah. And I like how he talks about this being the calibrating the right and the left hemisphere, right? So
yes.
that's how we allow life to live through us in a awe-inspiring, peaceful, and truthful way by being playful yet disciplined,
Mm-hmm.
open yet soft. Like there's just this, well, it's equilibrium, right? So it's this balance, this cosmic balance that we have. And what's beautiful about this is that if people walk around with this in their aura, it changes the energy of the system.
Mm-hmm. Not only their system, but it radiates out
Yeah,
from them. And
right.
that's the kind of contagiousness, unlike whatever strange cold has captured all of us that were at the wedding last weekend. Everybody's been sick. I mean, everybody. And it is so funny because we're like, well, we did a lot of hugging and dancing and, so we want to be, can we pass on some good feeling vibrations versus coughing and sniffling germs?
Yeah. He says in this key, I'm just going to read this. Herein lies the great secret to humanity's future collective harmony.
Mm.
It can only be achieved through individual freedom and trust in the self-organizing intelligence that emerges from that freedom. And if each one of us does the work of freeing ourselves from victimhood, of thinking that it's somebody else that's doing it to us or causing blame, or it needs to be a certain way before it becomes something else, and just really own our piece.
Needs to be a certain way. I know that one.
Yeah, it needs.
Sorry.
Yeah, and then the anger lashes out because it's not that way, right? So how can we individually take responsibility for our own equilibrium?
Yeah.
And I used to call it, I remember, I, I mean, this might be a little brash, but unfuckwithable.
Yeah. No, no. I
Like
mean,
you,
Marie Forleo
you,
made that a word, and
yeah,
it's gone all around the place. And I think that is part of that standing in the eye of the storm and you're in your full integrity, which is exactly what integrity is anyway. It's holding it all and just being grounded in it. And by the way, I'm doing this is the mudra for harmony. And it's so, so beautiful. It's called the Indian Native American people called it like a conch shell.
so
So
you take
take
your
your
hand
left hand
and
and you
you
hold onto the thumb of your left hand. And then you take your left index finger and touch it to your right thumb. And it
all
looks like
right,
a
so
conch shell.
yeah, we'll just hang out like this.
Yep, I'm holding. Yeah. I've been here like for the last 5 minutes. So there, and believe me, I'm into any tool that I can uh uh like practice to allow my body to feel it, to allow the energies to align with that concept. Because I think the other thing, Susanne, is I think that we often try to understand these words. And what I really appreciated was Richard saying, just sit with the word corruption. I mean, many of us don't even like to listen to the word. It's so energetically laden with, oh, I don't know. I bring up all the Christian like guilt and shame and ugliness and I'm like, yet it's what creates, it typically has to, it's what helps us to create the destruction, which creates, allows for the
Right.
rebirth, right? Or a new
Right.
birth. So, I mean, I
It,
don't,
it serves its purpose.
absolutely.
So,
Birth
and
of a
all these,
baby is never
yeah,
normally a beautiful thing. Well, I mean,
in
it,
all these keys, we're not going to eradicate the shadow per se, but it always gets us to a higher state.
it's
It's
the
the
roots.
pendulum.
It's the
This
roots of the higher state.
right.
It's the roots of the tree. You can't get to the fruit. Sorry, I'm still got my hands wrapped in
Yeah.
this.
And what's the gift is the flowering, and then the acidic state is the fruit.
Oh, thank you. Yes, that makes the most sense. So I want, and this is part of the embodiment that we need to do. I think very often spiritual people love to hang out in the ethereal space of, out of body experiences and moving towards where we want to go as a species and our evolutionary, and bringing on the love and the light. Yes, that's all part of it. And so is, hello, corruption. I feel you at my roots, and I have to learn to get to a place of acceptance, or he calls it allowing first, allowing it to be there, and then accepting it, and then fully embracing it, because
You're
that's
gonna
when, yeah,
are
there's
you
no
gonna sing a
resistance.
song? Hello, corruption, my old friend.
It's nice to see you again. Yes, hello. I think that's so funny. So we're and then we need, this is why it's so important to find cheerful people, opportunities,
Yeah.
ways of being with this energy where it doesn't consume us, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Um, yeah,
Because then you can go into a dark hole. And nobody wants to be in a dark hole.
not for
Um,
a long period of time.
no. Um, what I appreciate about this is that he describes it as, this is when you can help balance your emotions. You use your mind creatively. You use your body wisely, and you have this unshakable, deep inner peace for who you are and what you're doing here
Is this the acidic
on the
state, or
planet.
is this the actual gift state?
No, this is the acidic state. I jumped, but it's the full embodied, the full Monty. Yeah, it's
Laugh
the
this
heart, and
much
that's where
talking about corruption.
yeah, and this is where we go to harmonize, because
Yes.
you're accessing all parts, the emotional, the mental, the body, the physical.
And this is what harmony is, right? It's a number of voices or sounds coming together. If you think of a symphony,
Mhm.
how that beautiful, amazing music isn't produced by one or two instruments. There's a room full, and I'm always amazed at how the conductor can like call all that energy into being so that those sounds just blend into something so beautiful. Like like brings tears to your eyes, beautiful.
Yeah. um he says at the end of that Gene Key, he says, if there is one thing you can say about this 50th city, is that as it grows in power, it will orchestrate groups and communities of human beings into a beautiful symphony in which we become the instruments, and consciousness itself is the music that plays through us.
Oh man,
And
that is
so
so
just
stunning.
envision and be with that energy of just harmonizing,
Yeah.
you know?
I have a question for you about the programming partner, because he talked about it in the audio.
Oh, yeah.
Can you,
The third Gene Key.
yeah, and how those two feed each other.
Mm. Well, that's really sweet. It's the third gene key is through the eyes of a child. So it's moving from chaos to innocence through innovation.
Okay.
And so you have
So
to,
you can see the chaos and the corruption having that relationship. And
yeah,
innocence,
innovation.
innovation is the civic state.
No, innovation is the gift.
Oh, beautiful. So
Yeah.
innovation and
It's
equilibrium.
creativity,
Yeah,
and then the innocence is woven with the harmony because it is a childlike state in some regards because you're being all of you without any other filter.
right. Yeah. Um, it's funny, we were talking about the highlights of my daughter's wedding, and everybody has said, and that baby, oh my God, that baby that was there, that baby that was like, so just, she was just hanging, she never cried. I think she was like,
Mm.
this is the coolest party I've ever been to. She's never been to any parties. She was very and to be that open hearted, open, wide eyed, accepting, and just observing of everything. I don't know, we may have created a little dance monster. We'll see what happens. But so I have a question for you regarding, what do you think, or do you know, or do you have a practice to get into equilibrium? What does it
Um,
feel like in your system when that is your operating system state?
I feel I can step forward in making decisions with clarity. It feels, it feels harmonized. That's where I usually reach out to music to get me into that state of mind. Um, or I tone.
Mm,
So I just follow what my body is either wanting to release or um, what notes come to me that
mm,
feels calming to my system. Um, and then that way my emotions aren't ruling. I mean, because I feel a lot of emotions that come through me, and some of them aren't mine, and not attaching to them. I mean, they're there
yeah,
for they're there for a nanosecond, and it's like, what are you trying to inform me about? What what's the root of that? Is it my, if it is mine, what's the root of that, so that I can then decide what to do with that information. That's
right.
all it's doing, like, but
Right.
we create stories around stuff and then hold on to it. So
Well, and then we let that be the guiding energy. So one of the things, did I read it on this one, or was it in the newsletter? I love this because he talks about, and I forget about the different atmic, causal, monadal, buddhic bodies, but so the I'll just call them by the ones I know. So the mental body, the emotional body, and the physical body are the lower trinity, he calls them. And so very often we think that's all we are. We think our emotions are who we are, or our body, which is we feel pain or discomfort or whatever, or anxiety, or the mental gyrations, right? The stories, like you were saying, that we make up. So if we could imagine that those are the lower trinity, they are not who we are. Our uh auric wisdom, our higher wisdom, the upper trinity is our soul, it's our spirit, it's our collective connection to the divine all. So if that is our higher intelligence that we can tap into at any time, that just allowed me to feel like if I can just trust.
mhm.
So because this feels so overwhelming sometimes, my emotions, my pain, my whatever, my mental stories. And when I give them the power to run my life, it is not pretty. It just adds to more of this.
Crazy town.
Exactly.
So
Thank you.
that's why it's so important to create a practice on a daily basis of tapping into that, because that realigning is critical to make informed decisions that you want to align with throughout your day.
Yeah, that's the wisdom I want. That is, it's like it's
That's the true operating system, not
yeah,
this
and it is like
or
it is being
this.
at the top of the
Your
tree,
body,
looking
right?
down through
It's
everything.
it's informing. This is
Yeah,
informing, but this does not run the show. This is a
absolutely. And neither
tool.
does this, and neither does
Right.
the my gut.
Yep.
But this this upper trinity of energy. Um, I had this shamanic business coach years ago, and one of the things that she said that she learned from her South American teacher shaman is that we have like, and I forget what the story is. I think it's 2,200 eyes that are looking at all in all directions at all times, and that we forget that we're tapped into that brilliant wisdom, and we rely on these little two guys right here. And so when I hear that or when I remember that, I'm like, oh, so can I sit and trust that I am always guided, guarded, protected, that all is well, all will continue to be well? I am exactly where I need to be according to my divine design.
Amen.
And exhale. Yes. And that's a softened. So for us that are looking at like embodiment things or somatic awareness, my shoulders are relaxed,
Mm-hmm.
my face is relaxed, my jaw isn't tight. All of this gets to go, ah,
Ah,
yeah, that. Okay, I'm done.
more of that. More of that, please.
Harmony, what a beautiful thing. So it gives
Mm,
us a lot of work to work on, to remember. It's not work, it's why we're here. We are transcending
right.
this
It
old stuff.
This is all about higher harmony with God. Our own individual path has really, I mean, when we realize it, we're all as we're in harmony with God, we also recognize our interconnectedness with each other. But just know that we each have our own path, and that is beautiful, and we will collectively harmonize with others that resonate.
Yeah,
It's like the tuning fork, and
yeah.
everybody's like, yeah, I'm vibing with that.
Yeah, the fractal families, if you will, the
Right.
fractal lines that kind of like naturally
Right.
going together. So, well, thank you. This was good as always, and this is why I believe that there's a power in community and collective wisdom that we are just not able to tap into on our own. So I hope we give everyone else a chance to tap into that as well. So,
Thank you,
thank
Deborah Leanne.
you. Thank you. Bye,
Thanks, everybody.
everyone.